Firstly, I would like to introduce myself for those who do not know me. My name is Trinity Perkins, and I'm 17 years old. Now, from that information, what I want you to understand is some aspects of what it means to be 17. I'm part of the Generation Z, post-millennials, when 92% of us have a digital footprint and use some form of technology every day in our lives. And with this technology, I honestly believe comes the greatest opportunity. But as a generation, we have not yet realized it, utilized it, or even understood the real extent and volume of its power just yet. So, what is a TED Talk? For me, the purpose of a TED Talk is to inspire and spark conversation. And spark conversation is really what I'm aiming to do amongst our generation. Because at the end of the day, we are the future leaders of this world, whether we like it or not. And therefore, we must collectively acknowledge our global situation. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our global situation. Climate change and global warming, deforestation and the ruin of ecosystems that have developed over thousands of years, extinction of species of animals, and by 2050, there'll be more plastic in our oceans than fish. And to top all of that off, the corruption within our governments, who are supposed to be our leaders, the corruption within multinational corporations, which some have more money and power than some countries' entire economies, and the Mexican drug war that's terrorizing millions of lives in South America, or the other 15 wars that are happening today in our world. And we also can't forget substance abuse and mental health problems, the lack of morality and values in our population, the lack of responsibility that we feel, the lack of a community that we so desperately need, and the focus on self-interest, which leads to entitlement and greed. Now, these are only some of the problems in our world, but the problem that I face every day in my life, in front of my eyes and in my hand, is our use of technology. So this is what I'll be focusing on today. And I'm going to start with outlining some of the obvious flaws. We overuse it. We overuse technology. We overuse our mobile devices, our laptops, our computers, our televisions, our Xboxes, you name it, we overuse it. And firstly, this overusage, it creates a dependency. And now the definition of a dependency is the inability to cut down or quit using something despite one's efforts to do so. The average American spends 10 hours and 39 minutes of their day using technology. And the average UK citizen spends 8 hours and 41 minutes of their day using technology. Now, from the definition that I've given you, I ask you to ask yourselves, would you consider yourself dependent? Have you ever tried to quit or cut down using technology and being successful or not successful? And secondly, mathematically speaking, this overusage leaves us no time to do anything of importance or anything that we actually value. So follow me on this one when I say mathematically speaking. We have 168 hours in a week. And we say, let's say everyone gets 7 hours of sleep a night. That's 49 hours. 40 hours are used for the work week or school week. And then let's say 3 hours a day for personal care, like getting dressed, showering, eating. If we take all of that time and minus it from the 168 hours in a week, we have 58 hours left of free time to do things of importance, things that we actually want to do. Like develop new interests, find out hobbies that we didn't even know we liked, catch up on some reading, getting some exercise, spending quality time with your family and friends, or just going on a long walk, and sitting and being. But this time we waste. We spend all of it for entertainment purposes, watching videos and just using technology. 10 hours and 39 minutes a day the average American spends. Now, I'm at fault of this too, and so are a lot of people. But moreover, I want to talk about some more flaws of technology. Because the funny thing to me is the flaw of the overusage that we have hasn't happened by chance. The business objective of these social media sites is to grow, because with growth, you earn information on global data. With growth, you have power. And they all ask themselves the same question: how do we use and consume as much of your conscious time and attention as possible? And they've done this pretty well. We have to credit them. But they answer this question with exploiting human psychology. And they admit this themselves. We see videos from Mark Zuckerberg saying he didn't take enough responsibility. And early developers of Facebook say, one of them, I'm not too sure how to pronounce his name, but Chamath Palihapitiya say, it is literally a point now where we have created the tools that are ripping apart the fabrics of how society works. The information is right in front of our eyes every day. We have access to it every day. And yet we haven't even bothered to internalize this information. Our generation has not bothered to even read or see most of this information. And when I say how they did it, by exploiting human psychology, they did this by exploiting the brain chemical called dopamine. And this is where I come on to the referral of my title, the drug called technology, and the idea where it came from. Because I believe there are some very worrying similarities between our uses of technology and the use of drugs by addicts. And I know that's an outrageous statement, but outrageous statements are what need to be said right now to provoke people to talk about this kind of thing. So there are about 86 million neurons in the brain, and they all communicate with each other via brain chemicals called neurotransmitters. And why dopamine is so important and why they exploited it is because it correlates directly with human behavior, like sleep, motivation, happiness, depression. And they've done this by every time we get a notification on our phone, or we send out a message, or we post something in the first place, we build up an expectation. And the expectation is waiting for that message, to get that like back from that photo that you posted, texting someone, waiting for their reply. And when it comes, the dopamine level increases by 400%. It's like a moment of euphoria. And that 400% increase is almost the same increase that a hit of cocaine gives you. And yet every day, we allow ourselves to have unlimited access to this. And how do we not know that this is causing addictions? Things that release the same amount of dopamine levels in our brain are illegal or age restricted. And yet we give technology and iPads and iPhones to children as young as 3, probably even younger. And now moving on from that, I want to take it to a more personal level and talk about the way technology has made me feel. And now I'm standing here a student, a teenager living in the 21st century, coming from your perspective, having had similar experiences to you. And I actually want to publicly express my feelings. Because what's the point in suppressing them? What are we going to solve with suppressing them? But before I say them, I ask you now not to judge me. And if you judge me, I understand and I forgive you. It's just what we do. But when you do judge me, I ask you to ask yourselves why. To ask yourselves the exact reason why. what exact reason you are judging me about? And does it correlate with the person that you want to be? I feel lonely. I feel isolated. I feel like I can't connect with over half of my generation because we're all so caught up in something that's not real. This false reality of photos and taking photos and posting photos that I know isn't real and you know isn't real. And yet we do it anyway. I personally really don't enjoy memes. I don't find them funny. But just all of this stuff. And I don't have social media on my phone, so I feel even more isolated because it's like everyone has it, everyone uses it, everyone does it every single day, and I just don't. And I feel very lonely because of that. Now, I also feel like I'm being judged. I feel like I'm being judged by everyone, and I feel like I'm being judged everywhere I go. And I say this because it's true. All we do now is every day we go on our phones and we use these sites and we literally judge people. We judge people on the content they share, on the photos they post. We literally decide whether we like or not like the photo, and that is a form of judging someone. And I don't like being judged. I'm going to assume you don't like being judged either. So why do you do this? Why do you allow yourselves to go on these tools every day and judge other people? And then get upset when people judge you? I also think I think too much. I think too much about the big things, and I think too much about the little things, and then I work myself up in my brain, and I'm just like, I cause myself so many anxieties and so many stresses that aren't real, and that aren't of anything of importance. And it takes me a lot to bring myself back to what is really important. And then moving on to when I did have social media, I want to start with this. I was being conditioned. I was being conditioned to post certain things on what I saw. The content that sells the best and gets you the best likes, the most likes, or comments or shares on these social media sites is selling your body and selling yourself. And I fell into that trap, and looking back on it now, it makes me hate myself. Because as a girl, no one should ever have to do this. And I see 14, 13-year-olds doing this, posting photos of themselves in short little dresses with their really non-existent boobs, pushing them up. For what? For what? Why do we do this? I also felt when I used to be using it, I remember I would sit on my phone for hours, and I felt like I was addicted. Like, I would be scrolling on my phone, and I would be sitting there, and I would remember, like, I really don't want to be using this right now, but I don't know how to physically pull myself away from it. And that was something that confused me. And after a while, I just decided to quit. I just said no. It was, if you do end up watching the videos, we see the early developers say that what we need is a hard break from this stuff. And I agree with them. Now, I know it sounds like I've just slated the whole of technology for, I don't know, the last 10, 15 minutes, but that's not what I believe at all. I believe technology is the greatest gift that we have ever been given. The best opportunity a generation has been given. And let me tell you some of the things it's done. On a medical level, it's saved thousands of lives, millions of lives, if not. It's cured bacteria and diseases. It's connected people all over the world. Globalization would not have happened without technology. I can just meet so many new people online. It's amazing, but we don't even do it. I don't even know people that have pen pals or the technological version of pen pals. The list goes on. The list really goes on. And my problem is not with technology because, as I said, it is the greatest gift, but my problem is with our usage. Our problem is not being aware of how we are supposed to use technology. And this brings me to my end. I say all of the things I say today because I see such amazing people with such amazing hearts and smiles and talents and interests. And these people, they just aren't filling their greatest potential. I'm not filling my greatest potential. Everything I've said today, I am at fault of. But I am at fault of this because of this word independent. This word independent is not real. Humans have never thrived being independent. Humans have only ever thrived being interdependent. What we need to do today, so I can't stand here and say that I know all the answers and the solutions, but one thing that I do know is that ideas are the most powerful thing on the planet. Ideas started religion, ideas started war, but ideas can also start peace. We need to believe the idea that we are now the solution, and we need to stop acting as the problem. Believe that it is possible to live in a world where we can communicate with each other openly, where we can take responsibility for our wrongdoings and for others' wrongdoings, where we can educate ourselves and educate others, where we can share our ideas without being afraid someone will steal them, working together. And I say all of this now because it is our time now more than ever with technology to take control of what we do, how we spend our time, what we do with our time, to take control of the type of society we want to live in, for not just us, but for our children. And I ask you one last thing. Don't be afraid to show the world who you really are. And when I say who you really are, I mean without the filter. Because when you show the world that version of yourselves, you will be amazed at how much people will love you. Thank you for listening.